Hey, Sean, do you know what? I think that our listener want real protection against cyber risk, and I know that High Trust is the leader in cybersecurity assurance. But what makes them the go-to choice?
Well, according to our friends at HITRUST, because their framework covers 100% of the known tactics, techniques, and procedures, in 2024, organizations with a HITRUST certification had just a 0.59% incident rate, meaning 99.41 stayed breach free.
That's solid, but what about staying sharp over time?
HITRUST regular certification process isn't just a checkbox, it actually drives improvement. Repeat customers see up to 54% fewer corrective actions needed year over year. And now, with their new AI security assessment and certification, you can actually tackle AI risk with confidence as well.
Then check out the iTrust framework. Go to hightrustalliance.net to learn more.
Marco,
Sean,
this is the part where I make fun of you.
yeah, I know. That's I don't even know why I joined. I had the feeling that that's exactly why you invited me.
I invited you
'Cause
to make fun of you.
we're talking about something I am not going to.
Exactly. That's the part I'm
I'm
making
not
fun of
very
you about.
familiar, so I'm like, I'm here for the company. But I'm
That's
happy to be
right.
here for the company because Avi is on.
Avi's on. Avi's a cool dude, and it's great to have you on, Avi.
Thanks. Happy to be on.
Yep. And yeah, so for those wondering what we're talking about, this is effectively our kickoff to the Chats on the Road to OWASP AppSec Global in Barcelona. And it's just a couple weeks away now. And Marco sadly isn't going to join, but I am. I'm going to be there on
Big loss.
location. Yeah, it is a big loss.
Yeah,
And
I'm
I'm
going
actually sad you're not going to
straight
be there
on
either.
the other side of the pond. That's
Yeah,
what I'm going to do.
you're going straight to London for InfoSec. But yeah, I make fun, but I am sad you're not going to be there, Marco, because I said it on one of the previous episodes. OWASP is probably one of the best communities personally. Now, granted, I like the topic of AppSec, right? But even still, the community of OWASP globally is phenomenal. And Avi's one of those folks that I can point to as an example. And there are hundreds and hundreds of more as well. Hopefully, I'll get to see some in Barcelona. I was at Lisbon last year, and that was very cool. Very cool. So, Avi's graciously agreed to join us to talk to us a little bit about what's coming up at this year's event and what are some of the topics, what are some of the themes, things like that. So before we get into that, though, Avi, maybe a few words
Sure.
about what you're up to and your role at OWASP and specifically some of the event stuff.
Absolutely. So this is my fourth year being on the board of directors for the OWASP Global Foundation. Um, Honestly, it's been a long 4 years. A lot of stuff has happened. Up until last year, I was the chair of the board. So this year, I'm just they call it member at large, no official officer position. Um, so I'm not running the show, so to speak, but being on the board does give you so much visibility and so much interest in seeing what all the things that are going on in there. And this is such a huge community with so many different parts of it happening that there's so much work to do. There's always something to look at, always something to be working on. And Sean, you already talked about the Global AppSec Conference. I will say, and I know I am biased, but I think more than most conferences that I've been at, this is such a warm community. There are, as you said, Sean, there are hundreds of amazing community leaders that are there, just that are coming just to hang out with the other people there. Even before you get into the amazing talks and the keynotes and the trainings, it's just such a great community to network with all those people and just get to know people. It's like there's so many project leaders and chapter leaders that are there. It's like, oh, I use your project all the time. Oh, you run such a great tool. Oh, I can't believe you're the guy that's doing that. I want to talk to you about that. These are things that we hear all the time there. It's just a natural, warm, tight community there.
Yeah, and I think that it's an important point because you mentioned tools and frameworks and projects, and I mean, it's all community driven and built, and basically people come together to do meaningful things that are actionable.
Yeah.
And it isn't just to talk on the latest CVE or yeah, the latest risk trends or whatever. You do get some of that, but it all ultimately boils down to how can we build better apps that are also secure, that enable the business to do what they need to do. and a
Yep.
group of like-minded people come together to make that happen. Yeah, so it's really, really cool.
Yeah, 100%. And I'll say, I think most of the projects, the reason that they get real traction is because of the community. Sure, there's something cool you want to work on that's like a hobby project. You'll spend a weekend or two on it, and then leave it. But the projects that really have legs, that really last, and really build up a community around them are those that lean on that community, those that have those tight network and those tight connections with other people in the community.
Yep. The
So
top 10 we can point to, there's a bunch of work on AI.
before you go there,
Right.
Sean.
Yeah, no, I'm just listening to those couple of things. We're not going to go there, actually.
Yeah, no, but I'm reflecting on coming from 42,000 people RSA conference, 6,000, 10,000, and one another. I mean, I'm processing in my head how yes the community, yes the quality, yes the quantity. Right, it's still a manageable amount of people that
Oh, yeah.
could potentially, still not 100, but it could potentially kind of have a second degree connection one with another.
Oh, yeah,
And I
100%.
wonder how important that is.
I think that's amazing. As you said, look, you go to RSA, you're drowning in the waves there, right? You come to OWASP, it's like soaking in a hot tub, right?
Nice.
It's fantastic because you will know everybody there, and if you don't know everybody there, and you'll know somebody who does know them,
Right.
probably, like you said, second degree connection, maybe third degree, right? But you could probably, and the thing is, you don't need to know people to get to know them, right? You can just walk over because it's such a warm community, because that there is that expectation for people to just go over and bond over over the community, over the things of the community and everything going on there. And I see that happen all the time, just groups opening up and just some of the most social nerds that you see anywhere.
Yeah, and I think the other point before we get into kind of what's going on this year specifically is, unlike a large general security conference that covers tons and tons of topics, this is specifically around application security and the technologies that make apps build, run, maintain, right? All the stuff that are app oriented. So it's a chance to actually do something and talk about something concrete as opposed to just some obtuse thing. And I think I mentioned that a little bit earlier. But so it's like-minded people. It's software engineers, developers, architects, security teams, build teams. You can probably add some more there, but a lot of people all with the same goal of fast delivery with secure components. And yeah, it's super fun. So anyway, I don't know, Mark, anything you want to add there, Javi, in terms of who
Uh,
goes?
yeah, I totally agree with that. I will point out, yeah, it's, on the one hand, it's very focused, like you said, application security, but honestly, there are so many subtopics in that. There are so many different kinds of applications. You'll find mobile apps there. You'll find cloud apps there. You'll even find some IoT and embedded devices, firmware stuff like that going on. People working on that. You can find things like cloud engineers and DevOps, uh, programmers for sure, but also everybody around that. So I think application security is a bit of a misnomer because it does sound a bit more narrow than what it really is. So I prefer talking about product security, which includes everybody end to end, right? From the product managers to DevOps and SRE, everybody in between. Everybody there is welcome and relevant to be talking about it, but it's people building a product, building software, building applications, deploying them, running them, using them, and people managing the teams around them as well. There's a whole track around managers, team management, and culture and stuff like that, which to me is one of the most interesting tracks because I think that's the one place that's actually we're seeing a crazy amount of progress and changes over the past few years. A lot of the other stuff, sure, there's always new attacks, always new approaches, new ways of building things, but a lot of that is well similar to what you saw 10 years before that, right? What one group of folks you didn't mention, Sean, are pen testers. We have a ton of pen testers. We have a whole breakers track around that. People that love to break the product as part of building the product, which is, I think, different from DEF CON, for example.
So make me jealous. Tell me, what do you think that the cool conversation that are going to happen? I mean, you mentioned something. Sometimes it's the same problem, just different, angle maybe. But what do you expect to focus most of the conversation this year?
So I think we're going to see a ridiculous amount of talk about AI. Of
No
course,
surprise.
shocking, right? I mean, judging from RSA, that was pretty much AI, and AI, if I'm not mistaken. So there's going to be to some. I mean, it might be too much AI at some point, right? When is it too much? But there's a lot of different ways of looking at AI. So OWASP has two flagship projects now around AI and LLM, right? One is applications that are, products that are built using AI and generative AI and LLM and things like that. And the other side is building the AI engines themselves. So there's going to be a lot of different talks around that. And here's a good example of, what's old is new again. If you look at the top 10 common, the AI top 10 common risks, the first one there is prompt injection, of course. And yeah, it's completely different from SQL injection and all the other injections we've seen, except it's also exactly the same. So that's kind of what I mean. Yes, it's transferable knowledge, and yet it's also very interesting because everything's different. All the technology is different. The way it's used is completely different. So we're going to see a lot of talks around that as well. I believe we're going to see some more talks around embedding privacy engineering and privacy by design. There's a few around that as well. And a whole bunch of talks around champions. I noticed a couple of talks around security champions. There's also training on that as well. Um, yeah, I mean, other than that, it's just going to be more of the same things that we've seen in previous years as well. Additional types of ways of explaining things, ways of preventing things, ways of building more secure applications, ways of scaling that faster and better.
And for I'm going through some of the schedule here. There's also trainings, right?
Mhm.
I know not every training could get picked up this year, sadly, but there's a 1-day trainings, 2-day trainings, 3-day trainings
Yep.
that precede the general conference, right? So there's like the 3 days of training and then 2 days of conference, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So talk to me a little bit about just big picture. I don't need all the full list of the trainings, but what's the goal with those and what happens there? These
So
are
there's a
hands-on lab, right?
Yeah, there's a variety of trainings, and the idea with the trainings is that number one, it's relevant to the same large AppSec umbrella, OWASP umbrella, product security. It has to be very practical. They're all very hands-on, so it's not just going to be somebody talking at you for a full day. You're going to actually be learning how to actually do something. Um, so you have, I think there's a threat modeling training. There is a 1-day AI training, a 1-day security champions, how to build a security champions program training. There's the usual standard stuff that you expect to see at every OS conference, things like Secure Coding by Jim Anico. That's going to be an amazing training. And you're going to see things like the basic web applications, how to test them, how to break them. And again, if this is your first time going to an OS conference, if the first time you've heard about AppSec stuff, then that might be the things that you want to hear. Learning how to break web applications, learning what application security is all about. And there's a variety of other trainings, really, between DevOps and running programs and scanners. And unfortunately, the privacy by design training got canceled. There was not enough interest, unfortunately. Super interesting stuff, but that's the type of thing that you'd expect to see there, how to actually implement things in practice.
But folks can find you and talk to you all day long about it.
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
So there's one thing it's crossed my path, so I'm going to ask about it because I'll put it in the context of there's the conference, the sessions, the training, and then there's the other stuff where there's hallway con. There certainly is not going to be a lack of food at the
Mm-hmm.
conference in Spain, right? And there's a paella making session there. Which anything food related catches my attention.
You
So
know,
give us
Sean,
kind of the big picture, but
I don't know if you're kidding about the paella making session. There
I'm
might be. I
not
might have
kidding.
missed that one. Oh, really? I missed that.
It is
I
it
gotta
is
sign
there
up for
for
that.
security leaders. Yep, I'm going
Oh,
to add that one to my
fantastic.
calendar straight away. But I mean,
Oh,
just the big picture, that it's a chance for people to have meaningful personal conversations too in different venues and settings outside of just the conference.
yeah, 100%. And it's it's intentionally built that way to encourage that kind of networking. So during the 2 days of conference, I'll start the night before, the evening before the conference. There's if this is your first time coming to an OWASP Global AppSec event, there's a newcomers event, right? Just to the first time there, get to know people. If you've been a bunch of times before, then it's likely that you know a lot of other people. If it's your first time, maybe not. So kind of an icebreaker type of thing. That's really nice. There's also a Women in AppSec event that evening. Again, try to create those additional connections that you might not get otherwise. And usually the evening before, you'll find whether in a bar nearby or in a hotel lobby, you're going to find massive get-togethers, people getting together, drinking, alcoholic or non-alcoholic. There's always options. There's always people that don't, and it's just it's such a nice, vibrant part uh, of that experience during the 2 days of the conferences. So there are four plus one tracks, one for builders like developers and engineers and architects and stuff like that. What we call breakers. So you have like pen testers and people that want to test things, researchers, and so on. You have the defenders track, people like DevOps, SREs, people who run the systems, who actively try to prevent things, and blue team, so to speak. And then you have the manager and culture track, which I think is very interesting there. In addition, there's an additional track, kind of a projects showcase to present and show OS projects, to show how to use them, how to build, to talk about how they work, how the community behind the project works, and recruit additional volunteers. There are a bunch of other stuff going on in parallel to that. Things like there's a Beat the Mentor session. So there's kind of like a mentor speed dating type of thing, right? So try to find a long-term mentor for yourself or a mentee um, going forward. Together with Izar Tarandak, who runs the events committee, I am presenting with him how to submit to CFT and CFP. So there's a call for presentations, call for training. So we've been doing this for a few years. So basically, it's kind of a workshop teaching people how to submit and get accepted better. So we get better submissions. There's the leaders meetup, as you said, doing paella. Anybody in the community is welcome to join. And there's a bunch of other activities there. And in the evenings, a lot of vendor parties as well. Did I miss
Wow.
anything, Sean? You probably noticed the agenda better than I did. Right?
Like talking about fear of missing out here.
Right?
But no, also I was actually going through it, and I was going to ask you about the mentee and the mentor session, because I find it's very, very relevant, and also, not to sound like a broken record, but allowable by the size and of the community, right? Where you you can actually do that, and technically, theoretically, everybody could participate to that. Everybody that has interest in doing that, and I see Adam Shostak is going to be there, I know him well. Jim, of course, Josh Grossman, Tanya Janka. I mean, there is the whole community just moving around and reconnecting, which is one of the beautiful things of these events. Doesn't matter where you go around the world, you have a solid core of people that are going to be there. So
but it is
I got to do my
too.
best for next year, Sean. I got to plan my my trip to Europe better.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I just want to, maybe we'll close with this, because it does have global in the name of the event, which is meaning purposeful, and it is people from all over the globe, literally. Not just it's not just we're going to cover Europe, or because it's in Europe. We're talking about stuff that's important everywhere. So I don't know if you have any insights on or with respect to kind of the global nature of this.
So as you said, it is global, right? We do have several global AppSec events, right? So we have one in the European region, we have one in the US. It's in DC this year. And the idea is being global. It's the entire foundation. It's the entire community. It's all of OWASP. And we do have people coming from literally all over the world. I think New Zealand might be the furthest place that shows up regularly. That might just be the furthest place at all overall from Barcelona. But we have people coming from all over. And it is a global community. And whether it's the community itself and the networking and the connections or the content and the speakers and the trainers, we have all of that coming globally to the event.
Yep, perfect. And I'm going to close. Well, I'm first going to say thank you, Avi, for taking the time, give us this overview into the event itself, the community that makes it happen. We actually had a chance to chat with one of the keynotes, Dr. Kate Labinet, and so we're going to publish that episode shortly after this one, and we're due to have a chat with Sarah. I believe there was a challenge getting her on due to some scheduling things, but hopefully we'll have a chat with her. She was also another keynote there at the event.
Mm-hmm.
So two examples of editorial along with this kickoff here that we have, and we're going to do, I'm going to do a bunch of stuff on location, and perhaps we'll tell, you mentioned some of the vendors activities there. Hopefully I'll have a chance to talk to some of the vendors and some new innovations that they're bringing to the table with respect to the broader product security space that we all live in, even if we don't know it. So yeah, I'm excited to be there. Great community, great event. And Avi, I look forward to seeing you there. Some of the friends that Marco mentioned.
Yep.
And equally important, meeting new folks. I always create a new Rolodex for OWASP that I didn't have the last time I attended an event. So it's very, very special.
That's very cool.
And what is special is that you do have a Rolodex.
I do have a Rolodex.
Really special.
That's right. It barely fits in my suitcase at this point. But anyway, no, super fun. Hopefully people can sense the passion I have for what OWASP is and does, and the event is great. People are great. So I hope to see a lot of you there. And if you can't join for whatever reason, follow me, and I'll share with you what I can from the show floor, and then hope to see you at another one. So
cheers,
Avi. Thanks again, Marco. I'm glad he joined. I'm sorry you're not going to be there, but
yeah. Well, next
see you
time
in London for InfoSec.
I'll be looking forward to meet Avi and everybody else in person next time.
Sean will have to drink for two.
That's
all
right.
Now, you'll eat for two.
I'll eat for two. There's no question about that.
Right. Some good paella. That's for sure.
That's right. Right on. Well, thanks everybody for listening, watching. Stay tuned for more coming to you from OWASP AppSec Global in Barcelona, and all of our other on-location coverage as we continue to travel quite a bit this summer across different continents. So appreciate it. Talk to you soon.
Take care.
Bye.
Hey, Sean, do you know what? I think that our listener want real protection against cyber risk. And I know that HITRUST is the leader in cybersecurity assurance. But what makes them the go-to choice?
Well, according to our friends at HITRUST, because their framework covers 100% of the known tactics, techniques, and procedures, in 2024, organizations with a HITRUST certification had just a 0.59% incident rate, meaning 99.41 stayed breach-free.
That's solid. But what about staying sharp over time?
HITRUST regular certification process isn't just a checkbox, it actually drives improvement. Repeat customers see up to 54% fewer corrective actions needed year over year. And now with their new AI security assessment and certification, you can actually tackle AI risk with confidence as well.
Then check out the HITRUST framework. Go to hitrustalliance.net to learn more.